one of my favorite spots to shop. And he's going to be presenting a session on AI for analytics, the role of AI and transforming data into actionable insights. So I'm really excited about this presentation. Please give it up for Karthik.
I know it's 12:30. I want to make sure I don't bore you to death. You must be hungry already. So I'm Karthik. I lead the business intelligence and analytics at Neiman Marcus. I lead a couple of teams. One is business insights, obviously the core bread and butter of any analytics organization, helping business with data discovery, insights, and analytics. The other team is platform services, all the analytics tools and infrastructure, Snowflake, Tableau, legacy tools like SAP, and so on. And the third one is the most important one. I'll touch a little bit on that in the later slides. It's analytics enablement. That's what helps drive business, faster data discovery, faster insights, enabling them with the right process, tool sets, and then helping them be more efficient in their people, process, and then obviously at the end of the day, it's the bottom line dollars. So without further ado, let's move on to today's topic. It's AI for analytics. So I lead the business intelligence of BI group, so I like to call it AI for BI, which is very crucial because I'm going to be totally tangent on today's topic on LLMs and like data science. I'm going to focus on the core analytics engine, which drives a lot of the processes, which drives the job of the business operations on a day-to-day basis. And of course, one of the key components is executive insights, right? Executives like to know the health of the organization, how the performance is, and what's the roadmap for future growth and revenue. So moving on, right? So today's more focus, like I said, it's going to be the core analytics. And if you ask the business groups, what's your favorite technology or tool, as many of you have heard it, it's going to be Excel, right? A lot of business still operates under Excel because they love the tool, it's easy for them, they don't need a lot of training, and then it's embedded into the organization, right? People have been using 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. It's a lot of value that they put into it. So how do we actually accelerate business into transforming into more modern tools? How do we help integrate the modern tools into their processes? And then how do we make sure we drive value out of it, right? So that's one of the things we will touch upon today. And then how the analytics transformation is going to start with the very basic things, right? Like data quality, the foundation of the data processes, and then how do we scale these things to the enterprise level, right? From my experience in the past, a lot of them has been financial services companies, so obviously it's more key process driven with a few 100,000 to 500,000 employees, and it's the core governance is set up. But on the other hand, working in retail, you can do it all with little governance. So there comes the challenges of how do we make sure you work within the lines, and then that's where the modern tools is going to help them in terms of staying within the lines. So the core topics here is, right, we'll talk about the evolution of the AI in the business intelligence, right? So again, we have the LLMs in terms of the customer care. It's helping in terms of getting more of our the customer PDP, right? The product display pages. So let's say you go to the Neiman Marcus website, you see a lot of product with descriptions, right? Hey, it's a wedding gown, it's got the size, color, details. Of course, it's got the model picture, and then it's going to show how the model fits, right? It's going to show like, hey, the model is 6'2", and then this is the size medium that's going to fit her well, and that kind of help you gauge. And what we're doing is connecting this PDP data into our chat so that when customers are able to interact, it's going to give you a lot more representation rather than general. And then we are scaling it to integrate our inventory management systems too. So it's going to show you real time the stock updates of what's available on hand, and then how much is in stock with the .com versus the store. So that's the LLM part of it. But what I'm going to talk is like how we evolve, right, in terms of early stages of analytics to more into insights, and then that's going to be the key focus. The challenges being like data quality is always one of the biggest challenges working in retail because it's fast-paced, and obviously the consumer preferences keep changing over time. COVID did a lot of transformations in terms of how we shop, and then it's also the augmented reality of shopping virtually. All these things have changed and evolved, which forced us or led us to transformation efforts to keep up with the trends. And then the other key challenge, like a couple of people, just pointed out earlier, the legacy system integration, right? Ours is a 100-plus-year-old company. Like any legacy company, you would have legacy tools and technology. That's really hard to integrate with latest LLM models, but also you get analytics insights, right? Obviously, you need to have a connected interface in order to be able to see the entire supply chain from order, inventory management, to warehouse management, to shipping, so that the customer still is able to receive the order on time and also be able to see a real-time update of where the order is going through for the business to be able to fulfill it, right? Obviously, we are not Amazon, doing like overnight shipping, and then these are specialty products, right? Imagine talking about like $10,000, product gowns. So you need to be really efficient. Also, make sure you cater to the consumer preference. So that's very tricky when we have legacy systems and trying to integrate, right? So we're doing a complete overhaul of our legacy order inventory management system. So where, in order to tap into the efficiency, how do we integrate? That's our key challenges that we're facing. And obviously, right, like the data silos. So certain parts of the business, like marketing, customer care, they are like early adopters in terms of latest tools, like chatbots, and then in terms of like more streamlined campaign management and things like that for marketing. They are the ones who are early to adopt in terms of moving to Snowflake, getting into more modern data visualization tools. So, and there are other parts of the organization, like finance, who are like still catching up with the other teams. So how do we solve for that? That's one of the key challenges. Obviously, the latest trends, right? We'll talk a little bit on the tools and technologies, what's in terms of the Gen AI, the applications, and then a little bit on the augmented analytics piece as well. And last, we'll talk about a little bit of the applications, right? Over the years, right, working in financial services, obviously risk management is a huge thing. Fraud detection is a huge thing for finance because they are very tightly governed. And then enhanced customer service experience totally applies to retail because retail is about the seamless experience, right? And also the product suggestions you see, hey, this purchase, these are the other things that goes with the gown, your accessories, your shoes and everything, because we are a retail department store, we sell everything. So it's kind of like enhancing the customer services with related products, so those are other applications. And real-time analytics, right? Supply chain is our core engine that drives the customer experience. So how do we monitor like the inventory on hand, make sure we do suppressions at the right time, so if there's a fall event coming up, we do have enough purchased by the merchandising teams. We need to make sure it's padded so that we reserve it for special events, and then for stores to be available for the product launch. And we still do follow what you call the fashion cycle, as opposed to most of the fast fashion, where it's available year-round. So we need to still go by the Milan and New York fashion catalog for spring, summer, fall. So we try to stick to that, and how our inventory is still optimized to the fashion cycle and things like that are really good applications for us. A little bit on the AI history, right? So one of the things that we talk about analytics and AI, is like business is always curious. Hey, how is it going to add value? And then a little bit of education to them, like, hey, AI is not something new. We had it for over 100 years, right? It starts early on from Da Vinci's like automated systems to Alan Turing's machine learning models. It's come a long way, right? But a lot of the growth has been like post 2000, and then at the advent of ChatGPT, the last few years have changed really big, right? Again, this is just one core component of Gen AI we're talking about, right? So AI has been around for a lot of time, and what it does is help us make our lives better. So again, just a little bit of history, and there are over 100 data points. I just picked like the top 10 plus points that I love, and then it's kind of like what set the tone for AI that we have right now. This is another interesting thing. Whenever we sit with the business executives, there's always a question, right? Hey, is AI going to take away our jobs? I always like to show and tell. Imagine a world without the AutoCAD, right? You're designing a city planning or designing a Rolls-Royce engine for an aircraft. This is how it looked in the 60s and the 70s, right? And the fun part is, AutoCAD has helped us in terms of how we design it rather than the process itself, right? It's helped us the whole delivery cycle accelerated, right? You can design something, scratch off, redesign it without having to go through the trouble of going through the manual process. And that's what AI is going to help us, right? It makes our lives better in every stage, help us identify the values and then streamline with efficiency. And this is one great example, right? Hey, this is how we would still be designing things as a designer if we don't have the modern tools, right? That's exactly what AI is going to help us. It's not going to take away our jobs, it's going to help us optimize and streamline and put our money and value in things that's going to help us with revenue growth, in terms of setting the tone for the next modernization. And then this picture on the left itself is a funny example of how when we train new AIs with legacy data, it's going to be skewed, right? There's going to be bias. And look at the picture here. If you feed it into an AI model and ask us like, hey, how to be a good designer? It's going to tell you like, hey, you have to be a male in the 40s to 50s to be a good designer. That's how the data is, right? The legacy data. So we'll a little bit talk about how biases is going to help. In terms of making sure our AI is ethical and making sure we deliver the right results. And over the years, right, I like to compare and contrast how industries differ. One such question earlier was like, hey, how do we budget for analytics and AI, right? So one of the key things is, again, it's not like a one-size-fits-all, right? It completely depends on what industry you're in, what company you're in, where you are in terms of analytics maturity, and what your needs are, right? Having worked in financial services for companies like JP Morgan, Capital One, Fidelity, I know they are always driven based on process, controls, and governance. So, again, that is completely different side of the spectrum where you have deep pockets. JP Morgan spends like $10 billion every year on technology. That was like a few years ago. And there lies the problem where there's always where you can't get enough out of IT. Business starts building their own analytics teams, they start building their own data science teams, and data becomes silos, right? And there goes the whole data quality out the window, the data governance, and the structuring you build. This is one, I've seen it time and now again, companies struggling as they grow and mature where data is getting siloed. And then at one point at JP Morgan, we had like nearly 4,000 individual data products built to service the business. And then there was a huge technology modernization initiative to streamline that. And one such example is like, hey, if business wants financial planning and analytics model, they wanted to revenue forecast. Obviously, a lot of the models are with different source systems, flat files, and even Excels, right? What a data scientist does is like works with the product team, builds a React portal, Python code, users to be able to dump the flat files, it runs on Alteryx, data, kind of blends it together, and then connects to a Tableau dashboards and renders and shows a visualization of their financial planning and then forecasting. As simple as it sounds, so many tools are involved in just one process, and that's how Chase ended up being like building 4,000 different data products similar to this one. I'm giving you a very simple example. There are complicated ones that that's evolved over a period of time where it becomes complex. And then I remember Chase had a budget of $12 billion to modernize their technology over 3 years. So that's how costly it becomes as the organization grows, because you have one too many tools in the mix in your tool stack, and also the processes gets convoluted, right? On the other hand, being in the retail, you have the whole creative license and flexibility to do whatever you want. So you have to set your own data governance and controls and processes to make sure. And also the problem here is with the legacy architecture, how do we integrate, right? So that is kind of where AI is going to help us. And then it's helped us a lot in terms of not just the processes alone, it's the core components of the analytics, right? So AI has helped us in terms of efficiently building the data pipelines. It has helped us in terms of quicker discoveries in terms of data from different systems, and also helped us in terms of data visualization, right? And then the predictive analytics has grown hugely, in terms of inventory forecasting, revenue forecasting, in terms of regulatory, and so much, right? So that is one thing. And then we're still touching, the early stages of the natural language processing. So what I would like to call is there's always a conundrum for business is whether you need to build versus buy. So a lot of the large organizations, they have the deep pockets, they like to build their own tools, whereas smaller organizations, they try to mostly buy and then self-service themselves with the readily available tools in the market. Again, there's no one-size-fits-all, right? So we went kind of a hybrid approach where a lot of the analytics tool sets that we have is completely out of the box, and we were able to customize it to provide further insights for us, right? And where the AI helps power is in terms of real-time decision-making, in terms of the inventory and optimization, and also the tools, right? Like the Salesforce and Tableau bringing their own AI engine. That's helped us in terms of doing that natural language communication rather than building their own agents and chatbots, which are more expensive, right? For a smaller retailer like us, these kind of augmented reality, I would call, tools that are available in the market that's augmenting the AI capabilities, that's helped us tremendously. And in terms of not only budget, but also in terms of governance and control. So these are the two sides of the coin, right? Obviously, right, each comes with its own challenges and benefits. And then the other thing about augmented reality is in terms of the governance and controls, it's already well established, so it's easier for us to deploy things in the production, being able to get the return on investment a lot more quicker. So let me share over the years my experience with a lot of the companies that I work with, and then some of the unique products I've seen in the market over the years. The first to market, things that are tested well, and then the trusted partners, right? Obviously, some of the things, tools, and technologies in the market is going to fit in multiple buckets, but some of the things that are very unique that I found in the most recent times, tools like Hex, right? That brings kind of a narrative BI. So it's the augmented BI I was talking about, right? These are readily available in the market that helps us with business insights and also provides that natural language communication to know, like, hey, what is my average customer order time in the last 30 days for Gucci? And then that kind of helps us give business the power of real-time insights as well as natural communication without having to know coding, without having to know complex data analytics tools. So that is the kind of the future that we are moving towards. Another tool is Ardent.io. It's kind of a data engineering tool that has the AI. Somebody also mentioned, right, hey, we're using AI for coding, helping us with better coding, validation. So this kind of tool helps in terms of data engineering and help us identify defects, optimize the code. Data pipelines helps us to streamline and in terms of running it efficiently too. The other one, the name itself is pretty explanatory. It's called Narrative BI. So it's another tool which we did a POC to find out like, hey, this is an amazing tool that gives us all the narrative capabilities in BI and it's ready out of the box, help us elevate us to the next game. And then the VCAR is another one that helps with the whole data engineering aspects. The first to the market, obviously, industry leaders like Google, IBM, AWS, and Microsoft already has QuickSight, Google has their own Looker, combines with their Gen AI capabilities. IBM and Microsoft has their own products like Power BI. There's so many tools in the market that are industry tested that are like good for large organizations. And tried and tested ones like Amplitude, Alteryx, ThoughtSpot, these helps us in terms of data engineering, data visualization, data pipelines. So you have a lot more availability in the market. Now the challenge lies in picking the right tools that works for your organization, right? And obviously the trusted ones, we have Tableau, DataIQ, dbt, and Snowflake. Each of them are augmenting with the AI capabilities in terms of code management, change management, how do you manage your repository, and as simple things as like wikis, right, to help with like code better, and data visualization, augmentation, right? Tableau did come up with Einstein Analytics, Copilot that helps put self-service in the hands of the business, so business is a lot more efficient. And then that helps with the whole data literacy aspects of it and so on. The biggest challenge I've seen, in the last few years, working with the retailer is obviously data quality is one. The ethics and the bias in terms of the data. The scalability is another one where you don't have deep pockets to be able to scale. Funny enough, in the last 15 years in the analytics industry, I've worked with 2 organizations that went through bankruptcy and restructuring, so I know how hard it is to be able to convince executives, business to get funding for your projects, right? So, key thing for me is align with business processes and business values, right? Any new technology implementation, you need to make sure you get your return on investment, and the key is aligning with business process and business value. And then obviously data privacy and security concerns, right? I remember, I think it's end of 2022 when Log4j issue hit, every application that was running Java, had issues in security vulnerability, things like Salesforce. So the entire world had to be hands on deck to figure out issues, upgrade their servers to make sure they fix security issues. That's always there, right? Litigation, data breaches, that's part and parcel of the game. So that's another huge challenge. Having worked in the financial services industry, the other challenge is with the data privacy and security is the risk management, right? And the data governance that comes with it. You have seen in the news that a large financial services company got hit with a $400 million litigation because their data governance process was not up to the mark. And then they spent a couple of $1 billion and then add 10,000 more people, and then still got fined another $150 million this year. So that's how complicated the data governance process is. And then the data quality, and bias. I'll take, the data quality first, right? I put some of the tools here that I've worked over the years, that helps in terms of data quality, in terms of the core thing, right? Whether it's analytics, business insights, data engineering, or even AI, right? Data quality is one important aspect, right? What you feed into it is going to be the determination for the output, right? So poor data quality, not just like duplicates missing values in terms of like how the data is biased, also in terms of output, it makes a huge difference. So Atacama is one tool that I really loved, playing with because it has a lot of controls in terms of data governance and data quality. It helps determine, your control process, where you need to set leverage to optimize the data. And precisely, and data ladder was other tools that we did for a nonprofit that really helped them in terms of fundraising, campaigns with better data quality and the whole donor cycle management. TDM is another tool you will cover when you talk about CDP, right? Customer data platforms, because they're very centric towards CDP, but they also provide amazing data quality process and controls, and then obviously in terms of data integrity and governance as well. When we talk about bias and ethical aspects, you wouldn't find much of tools in the market because a lot of the companies that build large-scale LLMs, right, it's expensive, so they try and build their own privacy controls, governance, ethical aspects of it, and then bias. But there are two tools I found over the years working with other nonprofits and industries. One is FairLearn, and the other one is AI Fairness. Those provides there's open source tools. One is from the IBM, the other one is a completely new company. So these tools help in terms of setting up a stage for smaller companies to help leverage the whole AI bias and ethical concerns. Obviously, large companies build their own in-house tools. So these are interesting things I found in the last few years that help elevate our game in terms of addressing bias in the data. And scalability, right? An interesting example where working at Chase, we had obviously large company, so many tools in the mix. And then for risk, so we do financial planning and analytics. One of the huge segment of it is what you call CCAR. It's a comprehensive stress test to prove to the federal government that the bank is stable, right? Irrespective of what the macroeconomic variables are, whether it's your job market, Fed interest rate, immigration, housing market, things unexpected like COVID. Irrespective of all these, you need to prove the bank has enough capital to be able to run self-sufficiently, right? So all the DFAST and CCAR stress testing is a huge affair because I'm hey, though it's every quarter and then you have one huge report at the end of the year, there are thousands of people working to build those huge 500-page report that you submit to federal government. One of the things a few years ago, even before the ChatGPT was available to the mainstream, we piloted a project where we wanted to build the summarization for these reports, right? For the 500-page documents, you have all the details, annexures, and supplement. But you need that front opening statement to be able to give that summary of hey, this is the summary of each of these macroeconomic variables, this is how the bank is performing. So we tried to build our own summary tool and failed miserably because we didn't consider the effects of legacy systems and legacy data to be integrated to be able to give the exact thing, right? And this is a big deal because I'm hey, we're gonna miss a zero and then report it to the federal government, you're screwed, right? So that's how critical it is when you talk about data scalability and be able to integrate with legacy tools because it's going to be a costly affair. And then, so some of the tools, right, there's the FairLearn, the AI Fairness 360 by IBM. These are good tools that kind of do after research, for you to see like, hey, what does this tools provide in the open source that you can leverage to your company, to your industry, and I found these very useful. Applications, right? Again, coming from the retail, having a slim budget to run, a lot of the focus has been on customer experience and enhancing the customer 360, right? From ordering to getting the updates, and we do even like things like alterations that delay our deliverables a lot, right? Because these are custom products that we build, and a lot of the customers that we have are like spending like just once a year, they spend like $5 million, $10 billion, so the level of customer service we have is completely different, right? As opposed to traditional retailer like Macy's, where like, hey, customer experiences are about having good products, being able to get like what's the inventory that's available, suggestions. We do private events where we fly out our customer service associates to red carpets and then have one-off fashion shows. And then there we have challenges of having so many other third-party vendor data that we need to integrate in order to give this most seamless customer experience, right? Still, like the industry, right, in terms of like the valuation, these are just like high-level numbers. It's a lot more, right? It kind of keeps growing, where like banking industry, the application of having those augmented analytics is worth $40 billion. Customer experience, right, and retail is worth $5 billion, and supply chain is like $10 billion, right? These are like just like top level numbers specific to industries that I work with. And coming back to how we leverage, right, the hybrid model where build versus buy, we were able to buy a lot of these things right out of the box and customize it. Really good examples is Hex and Tableau's like integrated AI LLM, where you can do like the natural language search of our data, be able to ask questions in plain English form and still be able to get what business wants. This kind of helped us in terms of the analytics enablement, right? Putting the business in the driver's seat, helping them self-service, reduce the reliance on IT, and that helped us in terms of driving more efficiency, productivity, increasing sales across marketing, customer care, even finance, right? Because a lot of the PO purchase, from PR to PO to the contract to the final payment, we were able to reduce the time cycle by 50%, right? What it took for the entire month to fill out a PO for a new order from a luxury, vendor that we work with. A lot of the names, honestly, I can't even pronounce, right? Those are luxury brands that work out of like, France and like most of the Europe. We had a very long lead time in terms of processing. These kind of like augmented reality helped business reach every part of the organization to be able to self-service and help elevate our game in terms of reducing the PO purchase time by 50%, right? What it took a month and a half, we were able to get it under 15 days. It's because of the augmented business intelligence tools that helped us elevate our game. And that's kind of like the hybrid model that worked for us. It's not a one-size-fits-all, right? So what determines is in terms of what adds value to your company, right? Whether it's small or large, it depends on what the roadmap for the company is in terms of like, the technology transformation, and then be able to drive it based on what's available in the market, right? There's always a talent depth quotient there. So that's why the build versus buy is a key concept for any technology implementation. And then there are like numerous tools in the market where like, picking the right tool itself has become a challenge in this environment, right? Like somebody first showed, right? Hey, the kind of like LLM options available, you see like 50 of them on screen, right? That's how it is for analytics, business insights, data visualization, data engineering, every aspect of the data, right? So picking the right tool helps in terms of elevating your game, and a lot of times you can augment it with these AI-driven out-of-the-box tools, which saves you a lot of the money and a quicker return on investment, and then easier in terms of adoption too, because we have a support model within it. Yeah, so that concludes the presentation today. If you want to reach out, if you have any questions, feel free to do so.
Unfortunately, we don't have any time for questions from